What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to my vlog. And can I just ask you a question real quick? If you were going to try and describe yourself, or maybe even go as far as define yourself with one simple word or phrase, what would you use? Like, how would you describe yourself then? I'm guessing it's a little bit difficult to come up with just one simple, even full sentence that fully describes you. And you see, that's the thing. People are complicated. So, uh, when you're trying to define who you are, you can't just simplify it down to a simple word or a phrase. And if you can't do that for yourself, then obviously you can't do that for other people because you don't know as much about them as you know about yourself. So I'm kind of wrapping up this series on, little things about me on this note just because I feel like oftentimes we as a society try to define the individual people living within that society by just one particular thing that they do or one thing about their personality. So, shameless plug real quick here. This idea for this video kind of came as a combination of something I heard at church recently, but also a book I've been reading. The main reason that I'm actually, talking about this book and kind of giving a shameless plug for it is because it was written by somebody I know from college. He was one of my classmates for like, I don't know, 6 different classes or something like that. It was a lot. But, he and I are kind of friends. We're friends on Facebook at least. And, we're both kind of in the same boat together. We're really trying to help the world as much as we can, specifically through the lens of trying to help, like, teenagers, students, youth, whatever you want to call them. So part of the idea for this video came from this book that was written by my friend Andy Buckwalter. I have a copy of it right here. I'm about halfway through it right now. It's called Grades, Girls, and God. And let me just say, it's been a really, really great book to read so far. Like, it's not designed for me. It's designed more so for young guys that are, like, finishing up middle school or, like, early high school or somewhere around that age range. Generally, like, middle school to high school is kind of the target audience, the target readers of this book. And so the reason I've been reading through it is because I just kind of like to read something before I just kind of put it in front of somebody and say, here, you should read this. But I was reading the one chapter in particular talking about what it means to be a man. We say a lot of things in our culture these days, like, man up, or, you need to be a man to young guys. But what do we really even mean by that? See, part of the way our society tends to try and define us, as I said before, is typically based on things that we do. Like, a lot of people will go straight to their jobs as the thing that defines them, because that's how they make money, that's how they kind of get their living. That's, they spend like 8 hours or more a day on it. And so people think that could be a reasonable metric to define a person. But that's not really the whole story. And so some people want to define someone by some of their personality traits. Like, you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you're a nerd or a jock or a geek or a whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you can't pick out one single aspect of somebody and have that define the entirety of their being. Like, okay, since I've been making this series kind of describing me as a person a little bit, I'll use myself as an example. Like, going through high school, a lot of people kind of wanted to try to put me inside the nerd box. I got really good grades in high school, finished with like this shy of a 4.0 GPA. I'm still annoyed with my high school for not making it a 4.0 because it was literally like 1/10,000th of a point away. But anyway, I digress. You know, I got really good grades in school and everybody that was in my class knew it. And so, you know, they also knew I liked video games and stuff like that, so they tried to put me inside the nerd box, but then it's like, well, no, that's not quite the entirety of who I am, because I took Taekwondo most of high school. I was arguably an athlete of some sort. And I was in the youth praise band at my church. I was a backup singer. And that's just talking about major things that I did while I was in high school. And I gotta say, I absolutely hated the fact, and I know hate is a strong word, but trust me, it applies in this case. I absolutely despised people trying to just say that I was a nerd in high school, and that's all they would ever try to think of me as. But then they'd see me in gym class, and, like, you'd get to some of the physical fitness tests, and I'd be out doing some of the football team. Other than the pull-up test, I hated that thing. My arms couldn't reach the bar very well, because I'm not that tall, and just, yeah. Anyway. Aside from that one exception, though, there were a lot of physical fitness tests where me, as a nerd, was outdoing a lot of the athletes. Whether they just were tired from other workouts, or they didn't care as much, or I was actually more physically fit than them is kind of up for question. But I'm saying this just to say that a lot of times, young people especially, the people around them, and really kind of the culture as a whole, will try to put them inside of a box and say, okay, this one thing that you're known for, this is who you are. This is what defines you. When there is no way in the world that is the entire case. As I said, like right at the beginning of this video, people are complicated, all right? So, the unfortunate truth of the matter is, though, that some people, especially in high school, will hear certain descriptions of themselves. They'll hear a particular word or phrase like nerd or band geek or jock or whatever it might be. They'll hear it enough that they actually kind of start believing that that is what defines them. But as I already said, you can't just have one thing as an accurate definition of a person. Heck, like, how would you even define a person? Like, I'm not going to say you can't, but in order to actually define a person, in order to say that you have accurately described the entirety of a person, you would need to know and communicate every single little thing that that person has done or thought or felt. And how are you going to know that? Most people don't even know that themselves, about themselves. And not only do you have to have all that knowledge of the past tense, but you have to have that knowledge really of the current state that they're in and of the future. Because, you know what? Despite what popular media wants to tell us, people change. A lot of Hollywood and media wants to say that people never change. That is a bold-faced lie, all right? People change all the time. I used to be like the most shy person in the entire freaking world, or at least so I thought, when I was a little kid. My parents would just try to introduce me to somebody that they knew, and I couldn't even get so much as a single word out. I'd turn all red in the face, like, look away from them, and just be all embarrassed and stuff. I couldn't even get out so much as a hi half the time. I'm not like that anymore. Am I still a little bit shy and introverted? Yeah, but at the same time, I go out, I talk to people I've never met before. I will go to certain events knowing that I'm gonna run into people that I don't know, but I will still engage with them in conversation about whatever the heck is going on. Heck, like, 7-year-old me, if I was the same exact person as 7-year-old me, there was no way in heck I would have a YouTube channel of any kind right now. I realize, I don't exactly have the biggest following or anything like that, but there's no, I wouldn't have done any journaling. I wouldn't be communicating about myself as openly as I do right now. So, to say that people never change is a bold-faced lie. It's just, no, it's not true, all right? But part of what shapes those changes are the experiences that people go through, including things that they hear from other people. Because, like I said, studies have literally been done on this kind of thing, where if you tell somebody something enough, even if it's not true, you tell it to them enough times, and they will start to believe it, or at least believe in the possibility of it. So if you're out there and you're feeling kind of stuck in a particular lifestyle, or you feel like people are trying to put you inside of a box, just stay strong and take courage in the fact that that one particular aspect of your personality, or that one particular thing that you do a lot, does not define the entirety of you as a person. And better yet, if you are a fellow Christian like me, and I mean like a real, true, legit Christian, not those crazies that are out there like bashing people's heads in almost literally sometimes, and, raging against all this random stuff that it's just like, why? I'm talking real legit Christians who are trying to follow Jesus with the entirety of their being. The better news for you is that, guess what? You already know, or should know, that your worth as a person and how you are defined in your existence on this earth is not defined by some particular thing that you do. It's not defined by anything even related to you. Your worth, your value, and the definition of who you are is first and foremost resting in God. It's following Jesus with all of your heart. To those of you that aren't Christians and are looking for some sort of way to wrap your mind around yourself because you feel like you've lost yourself, or you're trying to find yourself, or you can't figure out who you even really are, then just maybe take a few minutes to think about the fact that you are not going to be able to come with an accurate description of yourself other than how you currently are at the moment. But in order to really have a true definition of your ultimate purpose in life, you have to be able to know the future as well, and you can't know that. You have to have some kind of eternal perspective for that to be the case, for you to really be able to describe your ultimate purpose. And none of us have that for ourselves. We might be able to have goals in mind, we might have ideas of what we want to do, but we don't know for sure what the future is going to hold. So the only being, the only entity in all of existence that has a clue of our ultimate purpose and thus who we are in our entirety is God. I don't care if you believe in God or not. There's no other way that you as a person could be fully defined other than by something with an eternal perspective on your life, which you do not have, obviously. I realize this was a bit long-winded and honestly not really that much about me specifically, but this is kind of the reason I wanted to do any kind of mini series on talking about myself. Because I wanted to get to this main point of, yeah, I might have these little pet peeves and things that annoy me, or, I might have all these different things that I like and dislike. I have certain roles that I fill, and just, I might be able to talk about different aspects of who I am. But even I cannot describe myself fully and completely because I don't have that ultimate eternal perspective on my life. That's all God. There's no other way I could say it. So, anyway, I guess that about does it this time around. Again, if you're interested in this book that I've been reading that kind of helped inspire this video, I'm going to leave a link in the description to where you could buy it on Amazon if you like. I believe you could just get a Kindle version for like $10. The actual paper version is like $14 or something, maybe $13. It's not a big book. It's not an expensive book. But from what I've read so far, it's some really good stuff in there. Especially good stuff for the young men out there that are dealing with the complicated world of being a teenager these days. Because trust me, it is super complicated. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this time around. As always, like and share, all that good stuff. You know what to do in order to, follow me, keep up with my videos, interact, and all that kind of stuff. If you are completely new to YouTube somehow and you don't know all that stuff, just look in the description down below the video. I lay it all out there. So, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But in any case, stay cool, people.